Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty okay. My apologies, by the way, for transposing the date of our conversation.
Man, you're not supposed to tell them that. They're supposed to think that they had no idea, man.
No, I like to remind my audience that I am startlingly incompetent when it comes to planning out anything for my anything for my channel. They need to be reminded that I'm not a professional.
I hear you. I hear you. Yep. Ah, yeah. I hope. I heard you were talking about drama on your page. I was following some of that.
Yeah, it seems like a
No offense.
non-stop feature of the channel, unfortunately.
It's a nonstop feature of the internet, my friend. That's kind of how it goes. I kind of I had some similar drama, albeit not as like I don't think it was as controversial as what happened with you, I guess. But I made a video on. I mean, I think I do like TikTok videos and stuff. I don't know if I told you.
Yeah, and I
I
looked up
made
your
a
channel and I
video.
looked at your stuff.
Oh, well, thank you for that. For getting me a couple of views so I can pay part of my utilities. So yeah, I did this video. I was making fun of like white women. You know what I mean? Like poking at white women. I did this white woman song. Where I was like, white women ruining everything for everybody else.
Yeah.
All the comments, people were flaming about it. You know what I mean? And then so I made a video response where I was like, okay, guys, here's like the history of white feminism and its implications on like, women of color and people of color in general. They were still mad. And we're getting to the point, I feel like, where it's like, we got to be able to, racism and stuff like that and transphobia too in the case of J.K. Rowling, it doesn't matter like whose mouth it comes from. It's still transphobic and bigoted, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I
I'd
think we're
say.
afraid to look at it.
Well, when people, I think when people get mad about stuff like that, the last thing they're ever going to respond to after the fact is some kind of, detailed historical explanation for how their outrage is rooted in, like, ill concern or something, Folks, when
Right,
they're mad, they're mad. They're looking for an apology most of the time. Sometimes not even that. Sometimes it's just, they're mad. That's it, really.
right, right. Yeah, I think like we've gotten into a place now where we're a little too comfortable with our at least tell you the truth, I stay away from the online I used to be pretty black-pilled about leftism and stuff
Used to
until I
be.
decided to.
You mean you have a
Yeah,
more positive opinion now than you used to? What on earth could have caused that?
walking outside, my friend. I walk outside
Oh.
and I realize that not everybody is as bad as they are on the internet.
That's instructive advice for my community right there. My God.
Cause man, I know how it is. Like I'll see like when this whole Russia thing started, seeing people who are like buying into like the freaking Russian propaganda. I was like, this is horrible. And then I walk outside and I realize there's normal people out there in the world.
Yeah, when you go on
There's like
Twitter, it feels like it's Red Dawn, like the Russian invasion succeeded not only in Ukraine but in the American hearts and minds. And then you go outside and
exactly
literally everyone everywhere supports Ukraine. It's like, oh, it's
right.
it's just the online left that's like that. Great.
Yeah, that was my key to it. I have to stay away from because it can be harmful basing it all online too. I feel like because I feel like the loudest. It's like they say the loudest voices like not necessarily there's like a silent majority in some instances, and like if you look at like online leftists versus like real world leftists, it's like real world leftists are doing like mutual aid and stuff like that, and then online leftists are talking about I don't know slur discourse, as if that's like relevant right now,
Oh, I love slur discourse. Don't take that from me. It's my
Oh,
favorite
really?
shit in the world. Absolutely. For real though, I unironically think a lot of what's wrong with the online left actually is Russia. It seems like a ton of the bad info that lefties online employ like can be cited almost directly by like RT sources and shit. And when you think about it, like the way Russia uses like online intel ops to try to soften
Yep.
up other countries, like it's like, oh god, they fucked us. Like they may lose this war, but they fucked us for the next century. Leftism everywhere is fucked now because now all the online avenues of engagement are like termifucked by these by people who think that like supporting Putin's like fascist war is somehow necessary for the international proletariat. It's like, Jesus Christ.
Well,
Bad.
this ain't the first time I've seen this happening, man. You know what I mean? Like, how familiar are you with the Israeli-Palestine situation? I don't like calling it a conflict because Israel's, you know, the worst party in that instance. But
Fair. And pretty familiar.
yeah, like there was a time I remember where it's like there was like a lot of support from leftist types for groups like Hamas. And I'm like, Hamas like hurts Palestinian civilians, man. That's not a group you should. People are like, they're a resistance group. No, I mean, they're not as bad as Israel is right now, but like, they're a right wing group, you know?
No, I'll own up to this. As recently as like a year and a half ago, I felt this way because I was doing that like brain dead, you know, like the whatever evil to defeat the American aligned evil bullshit or whatever. But
America bad. America
yeah.
You know.
I moved off that eventually though, and I think a lot of it was just me being kind of ignorant because it felt like all the people who were saying Hamas was bad were like obvious IDF shills and like American neocons.
Yeah, right.
So it's like, oh well, if they're the ones who don't like them, but like no, actually they're pretty bad. Yeah.
See, that's the problem. Is like I'm one of the only people who will tell you that like Hamas is bad, who's not an IDF shill, you know. And so it's like, how are you supposed to trust the information coming out of it when it's, you know?
I honest to God, like I do broadly like blame liberals for this a lot because it feels like nuanced analysis is so foreign to the way like we operate politically that like even like libs or whatever, I don't know, like you never get like a solid pro-Palestine people who aren't like full-on lefties or whatever. It's usually like you just get this like rah go team sports attitude, and it's like, well, I have no fucking idea who's right here. Like I mean, you have to look everything up yourself, but often you're just going to come up against issues you don't know.
No, I've been talking about this for a while. A lot in regards to like the systemic racism conversation too. That I don't think a lot of white people are really doing enough when it comes to like the way they talk about it, and it just kind of feels to me more like the way that they bring up a lot of these issues is because they're looking for a seat at the cookout and not really to like do their job of being an ally. I grew up like I come from like more of a working class background, and
with an accent like that, I'm surprised.
Right, and explaining like white privilege to somebody who grew up like me, you know what I mean, where I was homeless, I was doing like jail time stuff like that. Explaining white privilege to me doesn't make sense if you're looking at it from your segregated ass like. Oh, sorry, I don't mean to swear on your show, but
I've done it a few times. Feel free to.
Oh, alrighty. But like you segregated ass like upper middle class background, you're not gonna understand like what white privilege and how that manifests amongst like the working class. And yet these white leftists will come on here and try to explain this in ways. And for me, I didn't understand it for years because the only way someone explained it to me was, well, you got arrested and other people get shot, and that's a privilege. And I couldn't really understand that, how that was a privilege.
Yeah.
Just because the way they explained it to me, you know?
I'm going to be real. Framing systemic racism through, like, police shootings of black men, like unarmed black men, was such a fuck-up. Because even though they happen way more in America than they do in other countries, like proportionally, and even though there is a real bias there, it's still something that happens infrequently enough. Like you track a couple hundred times a year, I think, or like up to 1,000 or something.
Yeah.
Like this isn't a lived experience for every like white kid ever that you can just point to and go, ah, yeah, see, there it is. It's a real issue, but it's not like the most immediately politically expedient way of framing it. I feel like the fact that the average like black household in like value is like 148, the average white household value is like probably a better way of immediately relating those concepts.
And not to mention like statistically, I can't remember the numbers off the top of my head, but statistically like how hard it is to come out of poverty when you're in a white family versus a like black family or Hispanic family.
Yeah.
You know, that's like that's like insane, you know, and like I agree with you on that with the police brutality thing. Is it's like there's
it's just so variable. Like every if like you're talking to a poor white guy, like what if that poor white guy is a friend who like died of the police? Like you're never like that. Just it's never gonna run with them.
Right.
It's meaningless to them.
And it doesn't even explain like the cause of those issues, which is like the income stuff, inequality, like you were saying, and it's just overall you just can't comparing like the two experiences is going to lead us to centering the experiences around white people when we're talking about racism.
It's weak, like from a systemic perspective as well, because like it's a systemic issue, but whether an individual cop like arrests or kills a black guy, like a lot of that's just going to come down to that cop and his psychology, and you look and he's got like 18 prior like write-ups within the department, and it's like, well, all of this is like layering past the abstraction in so many ways. I just feel like, and then the liberals make it worse because they don't talk about like class privilege. So like you go up to a poor white kid and it's like, okay, well, you're privileged, and like the poor white kid is like, okay, well, I know I'm not, but they don't bring up class, so it just feels like bullshit voodoo science. And
Exactly, and it honestly, dude, I don't even think most liberals, and I'll even say white leftists, don't even think that like white people can be poor too in this country, which sounds bad. But like, hear me out. It's like if you don't address like the intersectionalities of like whiteness, then how are you supposed to like understand like racism and stuff like that? Because man, like working class white people are super racist. I used to work construction, and like the N-word was like a normal part of everybody's vocabulary on the job site. Man.
Used as an article, it was like the third most used word.
Right, and that's like a normal thing. Like they don't have like nobody's advocating for like gender neutral bathrooms down in the hood. That's not like that's not a normal thing, and it's because we don't like. These conversations have like been what is it like geared towards like champagne socialists for too long, and it's like not everybody can get on that level. Not everybody can go and look up. What was that?
You meet people where they are, right? Like if you're talking to like a poor white guy who lives in like Appalachia or something like that, you're not gonna. I probably mispronounced that. I do every time in a new way. But if you're talking to them or whatever, like you approach with an issue they get. If you're talking to like rich white folks or whatever, you appreciate. If you were talking to like a black guy who lives in I don't know, like who lives in like a Beverly Hills mansion or something. There are like 4 of them. I know, I've been there. But if you were talking to one and you were trying to explain intersectionality, would you start with like the class oppression of white people? Like you clearly you go to where people have had experiences. You try to work with those, and then you bridge it out from there.
Right, exactly. I will say though that to a certain extent, I do think some people are willfully ignorant nowadays, because like we're living in an age where you got like all the internet and stuff right at your fingertips. So when I look at stuff like with these like anti-maskers and stuff like that, it's like I know that it's hard to look at like a government document talking about systemic racism and stuff like that, but like you can look up information on the vaccines that's like worded in like so many different languages that's so clear for everybody. It's like there's really no excuse to be ignorant in the age that we're living in.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's just like the validity of that info to them, right? The same reason that I wasn't listening to like IDF shills about Hamas. They probably aren't going to trust the CDC about anything regarding like masks or vaccines or whatever else. And like, you can have all the info in the world. I mean, sometimes you get those like fundamental like anti-epistemic types where it's basically impossible to convey anything to them because they'll always fall back to some other justification like God or whatever. Yeah. But, I think people who are otherwise sometimes persuadable through good reason, they feel like they have no reason to ever like give ground to those sources, those issues.
Right. It's all the Jews, man.
Yeah, well, hey, that's the common scapegoat, ain't it? And QAnon has gone basically right back there with the blood libel shit. So, I mean, we're basically right back to the fucking starting point of like 3,000 years of European conspiracy. So, yeah.
Right. Yeah, my family's Jewish. I was seeing them this week. I was wondering where like I could get my CNN connects or anything like that. I don't know where to find it. Is there like a sign up, guys? If you guys know, drop it in the chat. If there's a sign up for Jewish people getting on CNN and stuff.
I grew up in a Jewish neighborhood. I'll hook you up, okay? Listen, okay. This is your real birthright. We'll get you that power.
Yeah, the real birthright.
the actual birthright trip is to the Skull and Bones Club. The Israel one's just for PR.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, I keep seeing them. They have like birthright ads on TikTok. They're trying to get these kids on, and they turn off the comments. You
Oh
know,
god, I fuck
just
yeah, they better. Jesus, yeah. No, but
oh, it's so
Zoomers
funny.
hate Israel. Yeah.
I remember watching what was it? Like on YouTube, they had like a birthright YouTube channel. And it was like all these like fun. It was like a Jewish parody of like Dynamite by Tayo Cruz or whatever. We go and light this menorah like it's Hanukkah, and it's funded by fascism. Like unbelievable. And I had no idea. 9-year-old me had no idea
Yeah,
when I was watching.
every note sung by like the slaves taken from the children of Gaza. You know, like
Right.
yeah, production value from jewelry we stole from their widows. You know, it's like yeah, it's really dark shit. You know, and it's
Yeah.
impossible to talk about this too because like on one hand it's like it being in a vice because like on one hand Israel does some really bad shit and on the other hand like there was never in like the past at least 80 years been a worse time in America to make a fuss about anything that could be considered anti-Semitism, what with QAnon and everything. Like, I feel like there were
Right.
so many bad actors who want to jump onto that, so it's like, fuck, well,
Right.
okay, yeah,
Yeah,
all
I,
right.
I I think it's tough for a lot of at my synagogue actually they have some conversations about the whole Palestine thing, which I don't think a lot of Jews are as willing to have as much as you'd think. And I think what it comes down to is for me personally, I have to avoid any Americans who say free Palestine because I can't trust you to not be secretly an anti-Semite, you know? And so I
Yeah.
just kind of focus on what the Palestinian civilians want out of their movement, as opposed to what like some Americans who don't understand foreign policy are going to say about it. Because at the end of the day, it's like I'm contributing a lot more by donating to the Red Cross over there and stuff like that than just listening to some online lefties shill for Hamas or the IDF, whichever one they want to pick. You know.
Yeah, it's especially since the weird the thing that really gets me too, okay? The thing that really activates my almonds is when people in the online left talk about the Israel lobby, okay? Because they don't seem to understand at all. The Israel lobby in America is just the neocon lobby with a coat of paint. Israel doesn't control
Right.
anything in America. America controls Israel. They're the world's largest and most expensive U.S. military base. The reason they exist is because we want them to. They're our geopolitical puppet. Like, the idea that Israel is calling the shots in America is
Right.
ridiculous. But
Right.
yeah, but the lefties, you know, it's like the Israel lobby. Well, what the fuck do you like this country, this tiny country in the Middle East is like puppeting the US? How? What resources are they giving us? Like nothing. It's
I
just
don't think
made up.
they Yeah, I don't think they even understand what Israel like actually was back in the day. Is the way I call it is it's like Jewish Australia, right? Where it's like they just kind of dump.
I'm sorry.
They just kind of
Yeah.
no, it's true. Yeah,
No,
it's
it's just
funny, right?
yeah.
They just kind of dumped like all the like refugees from the Holocaust in Israel, and didn't have any and like a lot of these people, man, like they didn't necessarily want to be there. They just like wanted to not be persecuted. So they
Yeah,
they
they did it
said, okay,
because
we'll get dumped
the
there.
Western powers didn't want to accept Jewish refugees. They were like, "Fuck, we got to put these guys somewhere. We don't want Jews in our country." Like, okay.
Right. So they made Jewish Australia. They put a bunch of like people with a bunch of the indigenous people and take their land.
Yeah, fun.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's not good. It's not good actually. It's quite bad.
Right.
The whole situation. Sheesh.
I I don't think it's a situation that's ever gonna really we're ever gonna really find a good solution to it because I can't even agree with a two-state solution to tell you the truth because to me acting like Ashkenazi Jews are like indigenous to Israel is acting like me who's my great grandfather was Russian. If I just went to Russia and just decided to call it Sticksy land, all of a sudden and said, "Hey guys, this is my Sticksy land,"
I'd
it's just
support you.
yeah. I mean, Russia's doing the same thing, so I guess two can play at that game, Putin.
Yeah, no, no. What are you like, Michelle Obama? You don't go high. We're going low. Okay, we're every
Right.
leftist just form breakaway anarchist regions of your imperialist powers that you live in.
Exactly. Exactly.
God.
I'll start at 60 land. That's my way of getting back at them for beating me on multiplayer games that I can't that are too old for any like Americans to be playing.
Yeah,
You ever
Dota
notice
2,
that?
Counter-Strike. Yeah. We're
You ever
gonna
notice
fucking
that
show
how
'em.
like it's always like the Russian dudes who come on and just like cream you?
Yeah, they live
They're
in
really good at
Russia.
video games.
They're in Russia. What the fuck else are they gonna do with their lives but get really, like,
Right,
obsessively good with a video game? Like, Jesus
right,
Christ, give them this, at least.
right. I start thinking I'm good at Bloodborne today when I'm like beating these Chalice dungeon bosses. Then I go on YouTube, see like some Russian guy going, "Hey guys, today we're doing Bloodborne with only a pistol." Okay, so I will show you how.
Yes,
Unbelievable.
nothing but slight damage you do when you fall from higher surface onto their head. 6 damage per
Yeah,
land,
right.
100 shots to kill Bird Dog. Let us go. 32 minutes to beat the game. Orphan of Cause destroyed in 37 seconds. No platforms even to fall off there. They just do it.
Oh man, that's
Bliatborn.
something. Bliatborn. Yeah, right.
God.
I've been wanting to make my new character. What is it like? I want him to look like Rasputin. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh. Wait, you're
Like
playing
the Rasp.
Bloodborne?
Oh yeah, I played Bloodborne.
But in March of 2022? Is there anything else on your to play list?
You know what? My girlfriend wants me to play Elden Ring with her, but I told her like it's a really hard game, babe. You know, and I played through some of it. And it looks pretty easy. And we have Elden Ring, but she's all like, "Yeah, I want to learn," but she's so busy because she's the store manager at a Hot Topic, so we're robber barons essentially. You know,
Return
we
to
can't-
tradition.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I get that. When you make it a group project, you quadruple the playthrough time. It is a very fun game. I really like it.
Yeah, I was seeing you were doing a charity stream for that. For Ukraine, I remember. It looked pretty neat. I want to try it. It's just I get so fixated on a game when I'm playing it, and I just picked up Bloodborne because it was in my library, but I didn't understand how to play the game, so I just like kind of put it down, and then I picked it back up, and then fell in love. But it's it's just kind of
No, approach it at
It's-
your
it's-
pace. One of the things that makes these games really good is that they're basically timeless.
Yeah.
They you could pick up Elden Ring a decade from now, and I think it's going to be just as good as it is to play right now for me.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know. These games just they feel like hallmarks basically. Like they like mark time periods that anyone can return to.
Right, exactly. I'm trying to think on something we disagree with, Vaush. This is
Uh-oh.
proven to be very hard for me.
Well, we could always keep agreeing in a comedic fashion.
Yeah,
and
that's
my
true.
audience doesn't get much of that. Really, no, like really though. I do appreciate you. I do appreciate you hopping on. And in terms of like, okay, you said drama. Now I've dealt with a good bit of it. I want to know what have you been through? Like what ringer have you been strung through? Give me because you gave me one with the white women, but hit me up. I want to know.
Yeah, quite a few. Well, actually, I'll name the biggest one. This is the most controversial. So, me and my girlfriend, right? We have like a pretty big age gap. I'm 25. She's 19, right?
Uh-oh.
And like that was like a big concern for a lot of people, you know, because like they didn't know my girlfriend or anything, and so like it was like a lot. There was like a lot of debate around that for a while, and it was like traumatizing for me and my girlfriend because they were like going on and on about how like she's like they were making they started like just lying about her age and everything, and it was
Right,
like,
of course, because it starts 19 and then it's 17 because that's the next lowest odd number, and then it's a minor, and then a minor becomes 14, and
Right.
eventually you're womb robbing. Yeah, I know
and
how
it's
online
like with that
discourse
sort of
works.
thing. Right, and with that sort of thing, it's like I understand like being concerned about a relationship with an age gap like guys, because we got a big age gap, don't get me wrong, but it's like, I just think at a certain point, it's like you have to understand that like when our entire family and friend group doesn't really mind it, and there's like, what is it? Like she's got like an associate's degree and works as a manager at her age. It's like she's not exactly like a little kid we're talking about here, you know?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's,
I think for stuff like that, like in terms of stuff like that, like it's personally, I'm older than you. I'm 28, but when I see her talk to 19-year-olds, like on Tinder, for example, you know, I've hooked up with 20-year-olds, I guess, and like
Right.
you know, I won't sit here and hoity-toity about how that's beneath me because it sure as shit ain't. Oftentimes they come across as kind of, I don't know, 20 years old, so I don't know how long I can hold a convo with them. I guess it's just one
Right.
of those things where it's like it's indicative, maybe, like it's something to look at, but I don't think it's essentialist. Like, you know, you can have a relationship like that where like things are fine, I guess. And the problem with the internet is that you're never going to have a good convo about that. Like you can never sit your followers down and go like, all right, so here's like every exacting detail of our relationship. Now please assess how like healthy it is. Like that'll never
Right.
fucking happen. So it's basically like a lose-lose in terms of discourse.
Right. Yeah. And to be honest, man, like some of the ways I have a lot of gripes with the third wave of feminism. A lot of it comes from I feel like there's a lot of like turfs and um there's a lot of like nationalists in disguise as like feminists. And we see that with like turfs and stuff like that and white feminists. And it's like when I hear one thing I don't hear people talking about a lot is like a lot of people are really anti-sex work nowadays,
Uh-huh.
and it just makes me upset because it's like I have so many friends who like work in the industry who didn't really have like you know a choice to do anything else because it's like you got women who are like supporting their children. You know, it's like of course they're gonna like want to make the most money that they can, and it's like you know it just makes me upset whenever I see these like sex work exclusionary feminists and stuff because it's like there's do y'all not remember back in the day when they put women in like the freaking institutions for hysteria because they want, God forbid, they want to like sleep with a man? You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, they would legit, like there are some crazy laws on the book that you could like you go back a little while and like it's not just adultery or shit. I think that like wearing like like the police could arrest you in some places in America for not wearing enough gender appropriate clothing.
Right.
Or like women would be locked up. Oh, what was that story where the that it was on Reddit. It was like people were really mad about it because, well, they should be, you know. It was like a woman lost her child and there was like a big public outcry, and it was like the New York City Police Department really wanted to solve the case, but they couldn't find the kid. So they found another kid, gave it to the mom to get like the headlines. The mom was like, "Wait, this isn't my son," and then the kid had her locked up in a mental institution for speaking out against them, where she stayed for a long time.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, I mean that's and so it's like when I hear like any sort of like restrictions being imposed on womanhood for me, it just kind of puts a sour taste in my mouth because I'm just like, how far back are we gonna go? You know what I mean? Before it's just like fascism. You know what I mean?
Don't get me wrong, I'm super sex work positive. I think a lot of this is like holdover second wave feminism shit, because this is
Right.
like, I don't know. I mean, like being real, I honest to God think that a lot of these like, especially like the Zoomers that are like this, you know, because you're on TikTok, I get, so you get a lot of
Yeah.
that. I think a lot of them basically are just like stupid catty bitches, but they know enough feminist lingo that it's not. They don't want to call
Right.
someone like a slut, you know, like they're not mean girls.
Right.
Instead, they're appropriating the male gaze for self gratification to the detriment
Yeah.
of feminism.
Yeah. Right.
And
you
it's
know?
like, okay, but you think that she's a dirty whore. Like, just say what you think, right? And same with a lot of the turf shit, right? Like a ton of the turf shit is just repurposed like a second wave feminist misandry, because a lot of the theorists back then thought that the not all of them, but a lot of them, they thought that the fundamental problems between men and women were down to some kind of essentialist violent nature on the part of men, a biological thing. So if you think
Right.
it's down to biology, like, you know, you're probably not going to be as amicable to trans rights when they come around.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah,
And
it's not great.
yeah, and that's kind of where like I get like really critical of like that, like the modern feminist moment is just how much like there's just not enough people like regulating it, you know what I mean? And then it's like, so we got to have like some people like stepping up and saying like, hey guys, you know, this is wrong. Because I don't think there's enough, you know? I don't think there's enough when it's like so many people can sneak in their little like fashy viewpoints under the guise of feminism. Like that's not good, you know?
Well, I mean, people fucking love using social justice terminology as a way of like reiterating reactionary talking points, right? I mean, take a look at the Ukraine shit, right? It's not like all the lefties who are defending Russia are going like, yes, blood and soil Russian Empire. They're going like, we must defend, we must prevent American and NATO overreach from,
Right.
crushing Russian hegemonic identity or some whatever bullshit they want to throw out that week. Just any time there's like the more woke sounding thing. Even racists do this. Like full out racists now. Like full on. They don't say like, haha, black people are worse, They cry and they whine about how like white identity is being crushed by critical race theory or whatever, and like oppressive social institutions. Or it's like everything now. We can't escape it.
Right. Have you been, I don't know how much you go on TikTok. Have you seen the drama between a couple creators, Chelsea and Lance?
Nah, fill me in.
The guy's named Modern Warrior. Yeah, so this kid, he cheats on this girl, right? After she told him not to. Mm-hmm. He's like an indigenous creator, right?
Uh-huh.
He's like an indigenous creator. And he's kind of a dick, you know what I mean? Like, you don't go cheat on your wives, guys. Or your girlfriends or whatever. I'm not sure what they were, but don't go cheating. But it's like, this girl straight up doxes the guy.
Oh.
After like, claiming that it was like assault when it wasn't, it was cheating, And there was some other like black creators who went to speak on it, and they had their criminal records doxed online, you know what I mean? And it's
Jesus Christ.
Leave it to white fucking leftists to pull out like the freaking racism card whenever they don't like what a person of color is saying.
No, okay, I know it's like an overplayed point, but white feminists, just broadly, there are so many white women that will like interpret any kind of personal harm done to them as a categorical offense to all womankind, which can be responded to with literally any behavior. That West Elm Caleb shit, for example, was insane. Like, literally, a bunch of these fucking, like mid-20s white women, I don't know if they were all white, I should just say women, whatever. Let's just say New Yorkers, who, apparently to them, being ghosted is some kind of objective categorical harm that needs to be repaid in blood. And all these commenters, like, you see these tens of thousands of like on these responses on how like this is an affront to all women because this guy ghosted some chicks or whatever, which, like, fuck you. We live in America. That's a God-given right, okay? Right. If you don't like it, fuck off. Go live in commie Russia, okay?
Right. I think ghosting is a healthy part of some, like, how do you know that like the woman's not how do you know that like she wasn't like doing something that warranted like ghosting, you know what I mean?
In his case, he was being like a jerk or whatever, but like broadly, like if your category is we get to go over anyone, we get to like go after anyone who ghosts. Like, first of all, you would never do that shit to a woman. When women ghost men, every excuse is played out. Like, oh, maybe she felt unsafe. Oh, maybe she did. Well, yeah, maybe she did. But like, you only care about it when it's not. Yeah. Anyway, just.
And my thing is like, does it even matter if like it's about unsafe? It's like you shouldn't have to like nobody should have to. If you go on one date with someone, you shouldn't have to. What's it called? Have that level of communication with somebody. I really don't like you. I don't want to talk to you again. That's not.
It's just rude. Like, that's what it is. It's rude. It's not even abusive, because abusive usually like entails some kind of ongoing relationship where you manipulate or hurt that person through the context of your relationship. Ghosting is just ghosting. It's one date. It's not like you're a father and you left to get cigarettes. Like, Jesus, Yeah.
To be fair, I've seen there are some guys out there who will ghost after like a few dates, and after like, this is the problem with a lot of men is that I'm gonna go on a little rant, Vaush, about men. All right.
Yeah, kill me.
A lot of men, they feel like they have the way that like you get girls is like they listen to too much of like these like guys like Ben Shapiro or whoever like the new like incel tuber is now. Mm-hmm. They think that you gotta like treat these women like garbage and stuff, and that they'll love you for it. It doesn't work, fellas. I'm telling you this. You're not becoming an alpha male. You're just becoming like a very grouchy beta male is what you're doing. You're just hurting yourself in the process of trying to be an alpha male. Cause like, here's the thing, man, is like, I've slept with like over 100 women in my life.
Thanks.
I don't like do the whole thing where I go and like say, oh yeah, I don't like play with her feelings and nothing, you know what I mean, and try to seem like I'm looking for a relationship when I'm not. You don't have to do this shit. And I don't get why so many guys think they got to do this if they want to just get laid. It's like, you don't have to do that, man. There's plenty of women who like having sex.
I think they over a lot of them. I mean, they don't want that, or like they don't like that, I guess. Like I think they like the idea of having to trick the chick into sex, because then it's like she's not a slut, so then it's like, okay, it's like a conquest rather than acceding to her personal wishes. But like, yeah, I don't know. There are guys.
What's wrong with being a slut? I'm a slut.
Yeah, listen, okay, I'm not impugning. Yeah, I feel like they have all these little tactics. Like they're always thinking about it, you know? It's like they don't just talk to anyone. They're sitting there thinking like, okay, now if I don't respond for 48 hours, that'll give her enough time to think that she's not worth anything. Then I respond, filling the void in her heart. It's like, well, stop. Just you're really cucking yourself out here.
Me and my girlfriend, right? We're both autistic, and we joke about how like strange our relationship must look to like neurotypical type people. Because our first conversations, no joke, it's like 3 days into talking, I text her like, so if a guy was into you, hypothetically, how would he be able to tell?
And how'd that work?
We're going on what is it, like I think 6 months on we had on the 22nd. We got 2 damn anniversaries is the problem of like when we became a couple and when we first had a first Discord date. So
yeah,
it's confusing. But like what is it like?
Discord, like, your 19-year-old girlfriend you got off Discord. I see.
Right.
the context, it adds up.
Oh, it adds up, right? Yeah, no, that's where E-Date is. It was so funny. We met over like TikTok and stuff, and that was our first Discord date. It was watching Hell's Moving Castle, but being autistic, it was more of like talking for 8 hours and then turning on the movie and then pausing it again to talk about something, you know. This is a good time, right? Yeah, it was a good time. But fellas, I'm telling you, man, like you don't have to be an asshole to women to get them to like you, man. Like you can be nice to women and they're gonna look at my girlfriend's a babe and I'm nice to her. You can make it happen for yourself.
Yeah, the only I am also autistic. The only tactic that I use when I'm like meeting people on Tinder or whatever is that I act a little extra autistic to them at the beginning, you know, just like that little extra spice. Because if that's enough to make them not interested, then I don't want to talk to them anyway, you know. I don't want them to be on the brink of wanting to talk to me. I want them to want to talk to me. So a little bit of tactical autism, you know, gives them the you know, like that extra excuse at the beginning to not. But then after that, you know, it's smooth sailing. And so far it's worked out pretty well.
That's all you got to do, you know. I think I think a lot of these it really grosses me out, a lot of these like incel YouTubers and stuff like that, because I'd honestly almost, as a grooming victim myself, I'd almost compare it to grooming, what they're doing to these young boys.
Oh, for sure. You know? No, yeah, 100%. Agreed, totally.
It's just totally unfair to them to be growing up feeling like they have to, what is it, because what they're teaching them, right, is this like manufactured confidence. It's not like real confidence that you have, you know, where it's like you feel good about yourself and therefore like you surround yourself with people who appreciate that side of you. It's like they want you to like put on a front of being this like confident person because you don't want to come off as weak. And then it's like it becomes just this like people aren't learning to like develop into anything but like this sounds like stupid, but like they learn to develop into stuff that's just kind of made for the female, this imaginary female gaze that these guys have. You know what I mean?
The fake ladies who are like you know, who only bend to the strong and are utterly worthless, like an internal moral sense, but are also like the gatekeepers of like this imaginary woman, basically. Yeah. And
it's just sad to me because it's like a lot of these guys, you know, it's like they, you know, it's like you do some time to like focus. I was actually celibate for a year, truth be told, when I got sober, and it changed a lot of how I looked at things, because like I stopped like manufacturing this kind of confidence like a lot of people taught me when I was growing up, and I found like some true confidence, and I just feel better about myself, you know. And I hate that these younger kids, because I mean, back when we were a kid, you know, we didn't have like incel forums that you could go and look in.
Thank
That like,
God. Yeah, Jesus.
it's like these kids like
What a
aren't
relief.
growing out of, they're not growing out of puberty, because like there's people telling them this is not puberty that's to blame for you not getting laid. It's feminism. It's the feminists. They're the reason you're not
my
getting
brother
laid.
in Christ, you're 14 years old, okay? Just be patient. Pussy will come. Like,
Right.
like you're don't like there. You see these people who are like borderline suicidally depressed on Twitter because they're like, you know, I'm in sophomore year of high school and all my friends are saying, "You're a fucking child. Stop!" Like
Right.
Jesus. Like when I listen, okay, the internet was around when I was in high school. Like, you know, maybe not the way it is today, but like back then, like when I thought about like, hey, I'm not getting laid like I want to, like, okay, you know, oh, that sucks a little bit. I will eventually. Like I think that
Right.
was like the default mentality, was just this kind of, you know, tepid optimism. But nowadays, like so many people are just like suicidally depressed over it, over nothing.
Right. See, that was back when, like, when I was a little kid, I was watching like Lacey Green on YouTube, because that's the people we gave a platform on YouTube, was people like Lacey Green, not like these freaking like degenerate freaking incel tubers, you know.
Lacey
It's like,
Green had a wild fucking career arc, I have to say.
I stopped paying attention after she said she got like red pilled or something, and I was like, what is this supposed to mean,
That was
Lacey?
a wild career arc, yeah.
What is this supposed to mean?
I think it ended up meaning a couple of things for her in the long run. I have no idea what she's doing these days. I think,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I guess at the end of it, like, a lot of them just view, like, courting women as an adversarial kind of thing, because they can't accept women as equals, right? And if
Right.
they're equals, then you have shared goals and values for the most part. And if you have shared goals and values, then it's a cooperative thing. Like, you know, you
Right.
and the lady both want to communicate, to work together, to help you both arrive at whatever relationship state makes you happiest. That's nice.
Right.
But yeah, but if it's an adversarial thing, then you have to like compete with the woman's feral, biological, hypergamous, like brain to, you know, and it's just it doesn't work. These people aren't happy.
Right. And it's like, man, look, like, what is like that, like, why like, here's the thing I don't get is like, they blame a lot of like, you know, they'll call feminism like degeneracy and stuff like that, and say that it's like ruining our society or whatever. But it's like, here's the thing: in what world are you living in where it's like having that like extra Y chromosome makes you like have any sort of advantage in our society nowadays? You know, like there's literally no advantage to the
Oh, don't get them
patriarchy.
started. They have they can list advantages for years if they need to. They've thought up of in fact, if you think about it hard enough and, you know, very selectively frame all of human history, women are the most privileged group to have ever existed.
Right, right. But it's like, even then, it's like every single example I see them pull has to do with like old hunter-gatherer societies. You know, like that's the way things were, and it's like that's not the way things are now. Like, what's stopping like a woman from being a lawyer versus a man? You know what I mean? What's stopping that biologically?
Well, they think about sex all the time, like constantly, and as a product of that,
true.
the female privilege is all about being able to get laid easier, which. Yeah.
I'm sure, like, watching that 70-year-old judge stroke that gavel is just going to make it hard for them to focus if they're, like, trying to win a case, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It'd
exactly.
be disastrous.
Always on
It'd
the
be
mind.
disastrous for a rich white kid who got a DUI and needs a good defense lawyer, you know?
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. I just think they project it all into that. Because if you want to, like, they do this thing. It's like, well, any woman, any ugly lady can get laid if she goes to a bar and just puts her leg up on the table. And, you know, not really, but... Like, let's say that was even true. Would that be good for her? Like, would that be fun? Like, or is there a reason? What's that tweet that I saw ages ago? It's a really good one. It was like, it's like women complaining about being single when I'm here is like saying there's no food to eat when there's a perfectly good hot dog outside on the ground. It's like, if you frame this with no consideration for what would actually like be desirable, then sure, yeah, you know.
I'm gonna go eat a hot dog on the side of the ground. That makes sense.
Look, okay, extra seasoning, honest to God,
That's true.
authentic New York flavor.
Is
Yeah,
that
I
is
don't
that
know.
how they season it in New York? That sounds like a New York thing.
Listen, I don't know. It does seem like a thing they would do, and then like bougie New York lawyers would tell everyone who doesn't live in New York they have to try it, and then you go and look at where
Right,
they're getting it from, and it's a boutique where the hot dog costs $28, and the dirt is
right,
like actually paprika or some shit, you know?
right. I'm gonna tell y'all some trade secrets, right? As a Bostonian, that New York doesn't even have the best pizza. They don't even have that going for them. I thought that was like the only thing that we had going against us was like the pizza wasn't as good. Not true. You go to what is it? Rena's on Hanover Street. You got like the best goddamn cheese. Vosh, have you ever been to New York?
No, I've not been to New York.
It's the worst fucking city. I'm telling you.
Yeah,
So
is that true?
let me get this right. So like it's like 40. It was like 40 degrees out the other day. You know what I mean? And it was like pretty cold. I was walking around. It's like pretty cold. I was wearing like I think 2 layers, like my suit jacket and my button up because I was taking my family to the museum.
Uh-huh.
You go to New York on a 40-degree weather day, the buildings are too fucking high because they want to keep building apartments that nobody's gonna fucking live in. And so the thing's a freaking wind tunnel. It's a goddamn wind tunnel.
Yeah, you're. It's just a natural crowdsourced, wind tunnel experiment. You're
Yeah,
just part of the process, you know.
I call it Satan's asshole. You know, it's like Satan's blowing farts at everybody all winter. It sucks.
Yeah, it's look, we don't have anything quite like that. LA is a roasting hellhole, for a little
Yeah,
bit every year, of course. In Seattle, it hit 108 during the summer last year, and everything in Seattle is like a townhouse with no AC because back when the city was
right.
built, the idea of a 108 day in Seattle was like a joke. So we just all just died a little bit, I guess. We lost like a billion fish too. I think actually a billion. Like that was actually the number they reported. So
Yep.
that's what we have, okay? We're all trying. What we need to do is even it out, okay? I'll take your 40-degree days and make them 50, okay? And you can tune down my hot days.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Do the whole like Stalin and Hitler meeting during World War II kind of deal. You know.
The West Coast and
Yeah.
the East Coast, joint armed forces meet right in Nebraska, shake hands and exchange weathers.
Exactly. Exactly.
Colorized.
Yeah. No. It's yeah. Boston. It's like there's some. I think there's like a lot of privilege you get from living in a city, especially a city like Boston. Honestly, that I don't think a lot of people realize because like if you're living in like the deep south, right? It's like you don't have access to healthcare as easily as we do. You don't have that. You don't have like a public transit system. Like these kids growing up in the hood, right? Like
Hmm.
down in like Mattapan, in my city, Murtapan, we call it. You can like take a train up and go to like the Boston Public Library. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
You got that privilege. It costs two bucks to go on a train, go up to the Boston Public Library, get away from like your environment. People don't have the same shit in some place like Ohio where there's like a really bad opioid epidemic,
Yeah.
and it's like these kids don't get out of the house, So it's like how are they supposed to you know uh, stay out of trouble when it's like they got nowhere to get out of trouble. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you can one of the most fun, and I'm using fun very loosely here. One of the most fun things you can do is look up cities in the US that have the worst opioid epidemic death rates and then go and look at their urban planning and just watch as these stroads stretch out for miles in every direction. Just these bland like semi-suburban towns that look like it was
Right.
like a highway off-ramp like gas stop that overgrew until like with no like central, like you can so clearly tell with so many of these Midwest cities, like no fucking wonder they have nothing to do. There is nothing for the people here, you know.
Well,
um
you've
yeah.
read about how they got fucked over by Wall Street, pretty much, right?
Oh, I
I,
don't
wa-
know who hasn't, but yeah, you mean like just
yeah,
like the
I
Midwest
watched the
broadly.
whole. Yeah, I watched the whole documentary on Ohio specifically, where it's like these guys were what is it? they had like a whole factory that got shut down in this like booming city in Ohio that just became dead because people didn't want to invest in it anymore. They wanted to invest in more of like a service economy than like a like manufacturing economy. And it's like these people all lost their jobs and they were getting prescribed Percocets, and then they made Percocets illegal, so they started moving to heroin and stuff. And it's like so they were left without jobs and with like pain addictions. You know what I mean? It's like it's terrible what they did to these people. You know?
Yeah, no, 100%. And we're never going to do anything about it either. You know, like
no, yeah, it's because we call it flyover states and stuff like that, and like kind of blame people for living there, and it's like that's not cool, man.
Yeah, not to mention like
cool.
like Nixon and Reagan both declared drug crises over like marijuana. This is the worst it's been, right? I'm pretty sure in terms of death rate, like the crack epidemic never reached the death rate. I'm pretty sure that like in the United States right now, like fentanyl overdose is the greatest cause of death for like 18 to 40-year-old men. I don't think any previous drug situation ever got this bad, but you know, before it's like, yeah, we'll commit $80 trillion fucking dollars to cracking down on this. And now it's like, oh, I don't know, you know, maybe Biden will mention it like once or twice during, but you know, it's not happening in New York. You know, it's not, of course it is. It's happening everywhere, but like disproportionately, it's happening quiet areas.
Right. I got some tea on war on drugs, but to tell you the truth, Vaush, right now you're I don't know if it's my side or your side, but the mic for some reason is it's making you sound like a robot. Is that doing it on my end?
Is that true? I'm streaming right now, so my internet should be fine. Here, let me just rejoin the call 1 sec.
All right. Try talking.
Hello.
Okay, I'm gonna leave the call and come back if that's okay.
Yeah, give me a call. Hello?
All right. It's still doing it. I just live with it. You know what I mean?
Okay, I'm sorry about that. I feel like it might be you could try restarting Discord. I don't know how much like trouble you think it's worth.
Let me try restarting my Wi-Fi real quick.
Gotcha. Godspeed. I don't know if that entails him getting up and leaving, or if
I'm wondering if you can hear me now. I just pressed the button on and off.
I can hear you.
Okay, it's still doing robot voice, but that's okay.
Hopefully it fixes soon.
Yeah, it'll fix. I was gonna say, it's funny. My neighborhood is actually the reason for the opioid epidemic in
You did this?
The New England.
You asshole.
Dorchester.
What the fuck?
Yeah. So I'll tell you the story. Is like there's this kid. His name Johnny Willis, like 15-year-old, 16-year-old Italian kid from Dorchester, right? Irish, Italian.
Oh, Irish and Italian. Oh, we're really getting the quality. Right. Yeah. All right.
Well, so here's the crazy part about that is like he ends up homeless. He starts hanging out with like some, like Chinese guys. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And they're part of like the bigger triads they had going on because like Ping On, there was part of 14K was like the big thing over there at the time in like the 80s, 90s, whatever you want to call it.
Gotcha. Taking your word for it.
Johnny starts like climbing up the ranks, right? In what is it, like through the Chinese mafia? But where he starts fucking up is he starts trafficking drugs, even though the triad didn't want to do that. But he was the one who brought like the Oxycontin up from Florida up to New England. He started it all, and that's how they got him, was because they were monitoring his phone calls, and that's kind of a big operation to be doing. You know, a little bigger than like some street gang wars.
A little bit, yeah. Kind of kicks. The consequences were never the same afterwards. Right. I gotta say. Jesus. I mean, like, even if that's the case, you know, like in a strictly cause and effect sort of way, I can never hold it to people like that too much, even if bad things happen, because it's like none of this shit would even be a real problem if like our systems worked properly, right? Like in a good country, like you couldn't have these giant drug epidemics, even if some good shit suddenly was released on the market. Like that shouldn't even be able to happen.
Right. I mean, I'll tell you, man, it's like, it seems like a lot of the treatment for, as someone who's like, I'm in recovery myself. not from opioids, but you know, from like Xanax, Adderall, alcohol, stuff like that. And it's like the treatment seems to be so focused on like how well you're gonna function in society.
Yeah.
Society. But sorry, I had to do it.
Thank you.
But that's like the main focus, it seems like, is how well you're going to function in like society by society's rules. And it's like that's not necessarily what a lot of these people need, because like so many of these guys who are like opioid addicts are these kids who like they work construction and they've been doing it for like 20 years, and so they got like a lot of pain and stuff like that. Oh, nice. When somebody rated my note fine on Bloodborne.
Oh,
But
nice.
they got a lot of pain and stuff like that, and so it's like if they're not going to give them like the Percocets, then what are they gonna take? And it's like it's completely capitalism's fault in my opinion, because like people use these drugs to like function better, because it's so hard to get treatment for your mental health and stuff like that, and then it's like these and your pain and stuff like that, and so it's like that's completely what's to blame. And it's like you're right. Like we wouldn't, even with guys like Bark White Johnny, we wouldn't have an opioid epidemic without like this kind of system in place.
Yeah, it feels like often when it comes to rehabilitation with stuff like this, it's like it'd be like if a kid was so depressed that they couldn't get out of bed and they had to go to school, and like you're a parent, you're like, okay, so what can I do to fix this problem? And your solution is to like dust cocaine in their nose to give them energy, and then like
Right.
and then like fucking jab them with a vial of venom and tell them the antidote is in like their homeroom desk pocket or something. It's like
I mean, they prescribe them with fucking Adderall,
you
man.
get
That's like
them.
almost as bad as cocaine,
Hey, don't talk shit to Adderall, okay? I'm like I'm a functional meth head now. For real though, like, a lot of these people, with the addictions they're suffering from or whatever, like they don't need to get a job. They need to be able to be in a state where they don't need help to get a job, like it's
Right.
if just getting the job was all they needed, then they wouldn't need rehabilitation to get a job to begin with. Like at that point, the government's not doing rehab; it's just doing like job seeking. It's doing one of those awful like like show up here and we'll get you a temp job for $6 an hour.
Right,
May or may
exactly.
not be under the
I mean,
table.
some of the recovery programs I've seen here, man, it's like they all they're just kind of money sinks for a lot of these people, and then it's like I know a lot of these people who are afraid to like go into to get sober because they think you got to spend all this money on rehab because that's the way they've like taught you how to do it. But it's like I didn't even go to rehab when I got sober. I just there's like free programs out there, and I wish the same could be said for a lot of other health issues in this country other than alcoholism, because there's like free programs you can do for stuff like addiction, but not the same for things like eating disorders, or which I'd argue eating disorders are like much more dangerous than addiction. Those kill way more
They
people.
often literally are, yeah, like directly, I mean, yeah, obviously it varies and there's a huge range, but I guess, I mean, at the end of the day, the issue is that the public thinks of drug addicts as basically like subhuman. Like that's the
Right.
kind of the root of the issue. So, you can put as much money as you want into these programs, but look, like recently the Biden administration, what was it? Like as part of like some social spending, like some money to clean needles or whatever. If you think about it, for like 8 nanoseconds, the idea of providing clean needles and glassware and whatever else to drug addicts is a stupidly good idea. Like, obviously. Like,
Yeah.
they're going to get their fix either way. You're not going to stop them. The government has spent billions trying, and they're not going to. Like, why not? Like, lure them in, Hey, junkie, you can have some free clean needles, and also here's some towels and a shower, and also, like, here's some nice food, and also, wow, hey, isn't this nice? Like, can we talk for a second? Like, and if they
Right.
don't stay, like, fuck it. They'll be back next week. But people hate drug users, like essentially. So
Right.
it's like, well, we're like paying for their drug addiction. It's like, well, it doesn't fucking work that way. Nothing works that
No.
way. All right.
No, you don't fix anything by doing that. And it's like because I'll tell you, like, from personal experience too, it's like a lot of us are like under the radar with our addiction and stuff. No, when I first got sober, people were like, you got a problem, because the way they expect all the addicts to be, right, is these people who are like, you know, like you see crowding outside of the methadone clinic and like just doing all that. And it's like, that's not the case for everybody. There's like functional addicts out there, functional as much as you can say functional, you know, and it's like they need treatment too. And it's like, you know, that's like the whole problem we get into is that people are just so stigmatized about addiction that it's like they can't, I'm sorry, I'm having trouble wording what I'm saying, but you get what I'm saying,
I
right?
think we all get what you're saying, and I don't think you're having trouble either. You know, I actually did research on this for my baccalaureate thesis when I graduated from university. Not on drug rehab, but on prison vocational programs. Because I think there's some congruity there. One thing that's good about prison vocational programs is that they don't get you a job. Sometimes they can lead to one in a kind of apprenticeship sense, but for the most part, it's just about building the skills that will make you a good worker. Now, on its own, that can be kind of shitty because it's like, oh, here, watch like 400,000 Amazon modules about like the importance of keeping a good smile on your face while packing boxes, but oftentimes it's like woodworking shops or whatever, and giving a woodworking shop to prisoners, like a lot of people in the face of it, like, oh, what, they get saws and drills and stuff, but like, no, you know, it's not 24, no crazy shit's gonna happen,
right?
Instead, it's like, I don't know, a lot of people in prison, like, I don't want to patronize or whatever, because I come from a pretty privileged background, but it feels like a lot of underprivileged people, especially in a class sense, have no personal experience with the sublime joy of creation because the tools to do so were denied to them. And then if they get into that, no matter what age they are, like whatever they did to get in jail, like if they get into that, like I think it can be fulfilling in an almost spiritual way. And it doesn't just make them like more eligible for work in the future, though that's nice too. I think it just makes them happier and healthier. And the research shows that. So, you know.
No, you're right to say that, man. And like as controversial as it is, it's like, yeah, dude, like, you know, I did time, and it's like I wasn't behind the wall or nothing, but I did like my little county stints, and you know, it's like the way the way that it happens is it's like all these you don't. The reason people end up in places like prison is because they don't have a lot of like stuff to go back to when they're getting out of prison. You know, because it's like a lot of people, like by the time I was 19, right, I knew how to like find the houses that like people were staying out of during summer vacation or winter vacation, and so I'd grab all the copper from there and like take it down to A Street. You know what I mean?
Yeah, full on copper farming. That is some authentic
copper farming,
looting.
right?
Yeah,
yeah. Like I did copper farming. I did like the frickin' what is it? Like I'd get like the freaking yellow vest and like pull into the public works place with like a stolen U-Haul and just like fill up the salt buckets and sell those to people. It's like it's way too easy to just like keep like living that kind of lifestyle. And man, they call them correctional facilities. They like uncorrected me at them damn places. I swear to God,
because you're surrounded
out, like more fucked up.
You're surrounded by other people who have also had oftentimes nothing in their lives but like crime. Like what the fuck? Like everyone just wants another path, right? If the only path a person perceives in front of them is like copper looting or whatever, like, well, yeah, they're gonna do that shit. What are they gonna do? Just die?
Right.
Like let themselves die?
Prison, like jail for me, man, was like it was a freaking business. It was a business trip. It was a networking conference. I got to network and meet all some other people, expand the business. You know, that ain't right. It's supposed to be correcting it. I come out of there with like freaking, yeah, I'll call you when you get out. You know?
Yeah, you know, well, a joint business venture. Look, we're picking up job skills. Okay, so all right, we're gonna hit these houses.
I come out there and do more crime. It's like, what is this?
Yeah, I'd heard similar experiences when I was talking with the people at the correctional facility that I was going to do my research.
Yeah.
And we actually had a former inmate in the criminology class that I was tied to for that project. He was this really, really, really fucking big guy, really nice guy, and
right.
And he was actually, if I recall correctly, and I'm sort of I might be bleeding my memories together a little bit because I don't have the best memory, but if I recall correctly, he was a beneficiary of a brief, underfunded, but still very helpful vocational program during some of his time there. And it was what got him into woodworking, which is why I used that example. And it like massively changed his life. So, but you have to not think that they're subhuman, like prisoners and junkies or whatever, before any of that shit can happen, right? So.
Well, you know what it really is, though, Vaush? You know the reason why they're not, like, we can see all this stuff, but they're not going to change that is that, like, I mean, you probably know as best as me that, like, prison is, like, modern-day slavery in a sense, you know what I mean?
Oh, well,
It
I don't
really
want to
is
get
modern-day
controversial
slavery.
in here, but yeah, I agree.
That's why they're keeping everybody in, you know, that's why they're not, like, changing all this stuff about drugs and all that other stuff. It's because they want more people in there, like, like I've seen like Victoria's Secret and Sears boxes. My buddies would tell me that they've seen like boxes for Victoria's Secret and Sears that they were working on. You know, doing practically unpaid labor. You know what I mean? I wouldn't call like you know, freaking 9 cents payment exactly. You know?
Yeah, well, the thing is, like, I mean, you can frame slavery, I guess, in this way, in a sort of relativistic sense, you know, because there have been different forms of slavery over history that are better or worse. The point is that what they're doing right now with prison is legally the closest thing that they can get away with. It's coded into the Constitution, no slavery except as punishment. And they make the most they can of it as a clearly the fact that they're so dedicated to keeping this blight of a economic system around, like
right.
yeah, that has to be it. Like otherwise they wouldn't care, you know. It would be meaningless. Absolutely ridiculous. I don't even know. I'm pretty sure the profit margins, like the total amount of like labor value contributed basically for free by prisoners, is relatively minimal too. Like compared to the broader U.S. economy and our prison population, it's not even that much. It just feels like a deliberate insult. Like it almost feels like the oligarchs like looking down on us and going like, "Ha, just to let you know, like we can keep slavery around even if it barely benefits us. Just
Right.
just so you know." That we can do this. Like it's so fucked up.
You know, and it's just an easy solution to things like crime. You know, that were things that were caused by like systemic racism and capitalism. You know, that's the cause of crime. And then it's like they have, you know, the oh, sorry, I'm getting attacked by a wolf beast in Bloodborne. They have like, you know, it's just such an easy solution for them to just kind of throw them all in jail. And the way I see it, man, is I talk about this point a lot when I'm talking about you know, proximity crime in black neighborhoods as well. It's like you're setting these people's houses on fire and then like blaming them because the houses weren't like up to code with the fire marshal.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like you can't be doing that, but that's what they've been doing for years. Is they just like create problems and then tell people like, well, you didn't solve them, so that's your own fault, you know?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. It's just, yeah, I don't know. A lot of it is like a desire to maintain a punitive system. A lot of it just feels like spite. I mean, I'm sure there's some kind of, look, I don't know. All right, hey, at least sometimes it gives us an opportunity to sound cool. Okay, when Zelensky in Ukraine, when he like unleashed a bunch of prisoners and gave them guns and was like, all right, go get at them or whatever, okay? It felt like very much a dystopian penal colony moment, you know? It's funny until you realize that we did the same shit in California when we sent, like, prisoners to go do firefighting. The California firefighters, they got paid, like, nothing to go risk their lives saving squirrels and shit. Yeah.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's like yeah, that's the saddest thing about it, and it's it kind of gets on my nerves because I've seen a lot of people, right, who like there's a lot of inmates I know, like former inmates. I mean, I don't know any inmates currently, but they you know, they get out all this stuff, and it's like some guys I know have been doing like 20 years, have been able to like turn their life around, and 20 years is a long time to be doing it, you know.
That is a very long time to be doing it. Yeah.
That's what you meet when you're in recovery, because these guys, they come out and they do the you know, they get into the programs and stuff like that, and because they want to fix their life around, and yet like we don't give them the opportunity to do that of it, you know.
How do you feel about changing the law so that it's only like class 1 felonies that have to be listed in a job application legally. Like legally, you make it so that you no longer have to list or can no longer be asked for anything except for like, you know, murder or like high tier shit like that.
Okay, so here's my actually controversial. I do kind of agree, except I can understand a company not wanting somebody there with a history of like stealing. You know what I mean? Like shoplifting. I can understand that.
I get why they would want it. It seems like a least harm type situation.
Yeah.
Because like
I get why in terms of like non-violent like marijuana possession, no, fuck that. You know?
Oh yeah, 100%. I'm pretty sure like even in America right now, like I'm pretty sure like they ask you even if you've ever done marijuana when you buy a gun or whatever. Like there's so much, it's still coded into so much of our legal structure.
I got some controversial opinions on guns, baby, that a lot of liberals hate.
Oh, if it's pro-gun shit, then it might be controversial, but it's not controversy my community is unused to because I'm pretty fucking pro-gun myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gun control is fucking racist, man. That's the way I see it. Because like even going back to like before Reagan did that whole
Black Panther Party, oops, all gun control. Yeah.
In the 30s, it was racist. You know, it's like it's always been a race thing, and then now like these liberals are parading it around as if it's like, you know, stopping like gun violence in this country. They're just controlling who gets the guns. Like, think about it, man. When you base your qualifications for owning a firearm on like a background check, who do you think is more likely in this country systemically to have like a record pull up? Who do you think is more likely to have a record? How many times are we going to see like these school shootings go on where they're like, oh, he just seemed like a totally fine guy, didn't have any prior history. It's because he was fucking white, man. Because he was fucking white.
The thing for me is this seems like a lot like the drug issue, you know? It's like we have a problem with drugs in this country. I also think people should have a right to do whatever they want with drugs, you know? I'm libertarian in that respect. I feel the same way about guns. We have a gun problem in this country. I think people should be able to own them. But we do have a gun problem in this country. And I feel like a lot of the issue we have is that so many of the laws we have in the books are this like liberal like means-tested fantasy of fixing all gun problems by, you know, having an 18-page checkbox like list that people have to fill out to prove that they've never done anything bad in their life, and only if they get that 6 months later they get their gun. And it's like, motherfucker, no, that's not how any of this shit works. If people want to get guns, they can. But like these policies are detached from reality. I remember back when I was younger and less aware of my station in life, white boy working at a frozen yogurt joint in Beverly Hills. There was a black guy I worked with from East LA I was talking with because we were buddies, and he talked about how he had an unlicensed firearm, which he dropped kind of casually. Didn't feel casual to me. My liberal sensibilities were offended, you know. I didn't freak out at him.
Oh, God!
Like, oh, why would you do that, you know? The fucker lives in East LA. Like, oh, yeah, like I'm ever going to give someone who has to live in East LA shit for getting a gun like under any means necessary. Jesus Christ.
That's where I feel like some people living in a fantasy world, because even if you look at stuff like Kyle Rittenhouse, you know what I mean, it's like they got these motherfuckers, they're causing all the violence, and it's like, so yeah, people got to have a way to defend themselves. There's been a 33% rise in hate groups that happened when Obama was president. There was a 33% rise in white supremacist groups. Of course people need fucking guns. They got to protect themselves.
For me, the big thing was during BLM. You know, you had all of these, like, Patriot Prayer white nationalist groups, like dumb fucks from the suburbs with their pickup trucks rolling through with a bunch of dudes with rifles in the back. And, like, if society ever collapses, I mean, really goes to shit, those guys are the first ones who are going to be rolling into every non-white neighborhood in the fucking country. So, like, I feel like if you give even a single shit about like managing to survive any social instability, you should look at situations like that and go, okay, all right, you know, maybe there are issues with guns, but holy shit, we need like queer neighborhoods, like POC neighborhoods or whatever. Like families should have guns, you know. And there are issues with like gangs or whatever having guns, but they're gonna get guns either way. You can't stop them from getting guns.
Gangs
We're
aren't
fucking
getting
America.
guns legally, man. Gangs are not getting guns legally. That's where it gets on my nerves. It's like they think that they'll list off like gang violence and stuff like that. It's like, how many like of these gang members do you see like going to get a gun legally? I sure as hell will
Yeah,
tell you that if
my local the local Crips and Bloods, you know, like a weekly call
right,
session where they call each other and make sure they're not going to the same gun stores that they're going to legally purchase firearms from. You know,
right.
keep their serial
I mean,
numbers like logged.
I'll
Yeah.
tell you, man. I'll tell you, man. Like, if I've ever owned a firearm, and I won't say if I have, it ain't. No, nobody's ever known about it. For Christ's sake, you know what I mean?
Oh,
Because
I didn't
that's the
even
way
hear
it
what you just
works.
said right there. I don't even know what words
No,
just
you
came out of your mouth.
you didn't. But it's like
No.
if I've ever owned a firearm, nobody's ever known about it. And it's like when people are going out doing crime, they're not going to buy like a legal firearm with a serial number where you can track it. You know what I mean? That's a fantasy world. It's the
Yes.
same with the we made this mistake with the prohibition. I don't know why we can't like get our head around like why it doesn't work
Yeah.
to
It's
prohibit things.
And if you wanted to get rid of all guns, like say for example, if there were liberals in chat who were liberally libbing their positions on guns liberally in my community,
Yep.
hypothetically soaked on left,
Living their best
living their
life.
best life. Thank you. Hypothetically, if there were such people, they would understand that given the massive proliferation of firearms in this country, along with the fact that the vast majority of firearm deaths in this country come from either suicide, which means that there's a transplaceability with the cause of death, or gang violence, which means that they're not going to get their guns legally anyway, the best thing that you could do is not punish legal firearm owners and instead fixate on the sociological policies that would address those kinds of crime. So, for example, the drug war, which all available sociological analysis has shown that if we were to end the drug war and use the money we spend on policing to restore those communities, we would fix the economic problems that drive people into gangs and thus gangs into fighting one another with guns. So, you know, it's hypothetically, there's often a way around these problems. Like, you know, like trying to fix the gun problem by like taking away everyone's guns is as dumb as trying to fix the drug problem by like trying to take away all the drugs. There are always underlying issues to fixate on.
Right. Yeah, and it's like yeah, it's just kind of it's not gonna the way I see it is like there's like the idealist way of looking at things, and then there's like the realist way of looking at things. I feel the same way about the Biden's embargo on the gas prices in Russia. Is it's like we can imagine like a world without guns and stuff like that, a world where there's no violence. That's not going to happen. You know what I mean? There's going to be violence.
Yeah,
Imagine that's going to
imagine
happen.
John Lennon's Imagine. You know, we just every gun owner needs to play it.
Yeah, I fucking hate the Beatles.
Wait, why? That's the most controversial thing you've said thus far, I think.
It's just the most like boomer freaking band ever, and it's like they're so overrated. Like all these guys did. I don't think people realize that they were just like One Direction at like back in the day. You know what I mean? They were just like One Direction. All these guys did was straight up write like some like pretty well written pop songs and then go to India, right? Like colonized India and then like freaking put a sitar in their music, and they're like, wow, they were so progressive. They're about as progressive as One Direction is now. Harry Styles and Paul McCartney, you guys are the exact same people.
Oh, hold on. Okay, at least Harry Styles doesn't look like Paul McCartney. Okay, at least we don't have that gangle-toothed, bowl-cut British aesthetic from the 1960s. At least Harry Styles has some. Yeah. So we have that.
I got beef with Harry Styles too, man. Because man, like the first person to wear a dress that was Young Thug. And Young Thug did a much better job wearing a dress than Harry Styles did. That thing was like frumpy looking.
Hold on, Young Thug. Oh yeah, Young Thug dress is the first thing that pops up. Damn, he looks good.
Look at that. Look at that. That's like a nice dress.
Damn. Wait, hold on. Let me put that on. Wow. I don't know if I've seen that one. That is a good look.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Sheesh. Wait, hold on. I don't think it's Harry Styles' fault that the media is going to fixate on him like he's the first person doing this, because this shit always happens whenever white people do something, like in every medium, you know. But like broadly, it's definitely something to pay to care about, right? Like when was this from? The Young Thug. When was this?
That was in like what is it, like years ago? Like I think in 2015. I'm trying to think. That was like a year after I got out, so that would have been like 2015. Yeah, 2016.
It's kind of funny because I think I feel like they really look like a FromSoft character. Like this, like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
massive hat and like the ridiculously frilly dress just feels like like the
From sub
vibes are
character,
there.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's yeah, it's cool, man. But I do blame Harry Styles because if you know you're gonna get like a lot of controversy by wearing a dress like that, could you wear a dress that looks nice? You know what I mean? Could you
Hold
not
on.
make it look like a goddamn like 6-year-old who wants to be cool like his sister? So he puts on a dress and goes, look at me, sis. I'm just like you. Like, come on, man.
I will
Put on
say,
the nice.
what's that meme? It's like Harry Styles is fighting gender norms and he's losing. Um,
Yeah,
the I think the first dress that I saw him in, this one I think looks nice, but there are some ones that I've seen that don't.
let me. I'm not even watching the stream. Hold on.
Oh shit, yeah, that's right. There are
Let me get on the stream.
he's done a lot. Yeah, okay, I'll wait. He's got a lot of outfits here, and some of these are.
Right.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to showing these off.
Vaush live. I'm trying to figure this out. I'm an old man when it comes to this stuff.
I believe in you. I think you're on your
I
way, probably.
I Google it. I Googled it. I Googled Vaush live and I found it. All right. Oh, it's on YouTube. Okay. Yeah, yeah. See, that's kind of nice. The one you're showing right
Yeah.
now.
Okay, that's good. Okay, but then we have a couple ones here that I'm just not feeling. You know, this feels to me like fighting and losing against gender norms a little bit. Uh, I'm not. It's just not my taste. Um,
Yeah.
I like this one because it's really dumb and it's just so stupid that I kind of respect it a little bit.
Right.
Uh,
That to me kind of gives off like perfume genius kind of vibes. You know what I mean?
yeah,
I
they
love
look
it.
also a little bit like a From Software character. This I hate.
Yeah.
I hate this.
I'm actually kind of liking it. It looks like what is okay? No, that I hate. That I hate. What the fuck
The
is that?
Alice in Wonderland shit. Yeah. Okay. No. I like the big poof. The this one. The one with the hat, the top hat.
Yeah, with the hat. Because
Yeah.
that looks like some like Miyazaki character or something. You know, he
Yeah.
like
Yeah. Exactly.
spirited away,
Like he would twist around and the coat would like spin and there would and then he would
and
like
then it
teleport or something.
become a bird or something. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
this just looks like I don't know. You know what that looks like is like some like the Dorothy one. It looks like some sitcom where it's like this guy's he like breaks out like some crime show where he like breaks out of prison and he's trying to like stay under the wraps and he somehow ends up in like a film studio and
Yeah.
then like the actress for Dorothy.
You're our stunt double. Yes, here, let's get you into
Yeah,
costume. Yeah.
yeah,
Like
just it's like, hey, our stunt double's gone. You want to fill in for us, buddy? He's sure. And then he ends up in like freaking you know, being Dorothy in the Wizard of Oz.
yeah,
I wonder if they had a stunt double in that movie.
I
I
well
wonder if they made it.
they dropped a real house on somebody, so they needed to they needed to find an ethnic for that fill-in for the Wicked
That's
Witch.
true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
And
That's
then
true.
I like this one. I think this one's cute. I don't know. Maybe it's because
What do
the
we got?
photo it looks like it was taken with a camera from the 80s, so it just I don't know. It feels like an
It's
alt universe.
it's a little bit delayed for me, FYI, so I'll see it in a second.
Oh yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, no, that is kind of cool. That looks like maybe like a Wes Anderson protagonist.
Yes.
You ever see that movie, The French Dispatch?
No.
I watched it with my mother. That's his new one, and I didn't really like his movies, but that one was good. That one was good.
Yeah, I feel like this should be like a you know how people do like steampunk or diesel punk aesthetic for like their retros, you know? I feel like 1980s aesthetic, but gender norms are shattered, so everyone's just like as progressive as we might be in 50 years, you know? I feel like
Right.
there could be a good vibe there. You know, that could be like a neat vibe.
Right.
Also cuz like one of the characters would be like a 6'3" like trans girl in like 80s like neon yoga like the
Right.
dance yoga shit, you know? And I know they would be like the most popular character of like any TV show that year, and I just I don't know. I feel like that would be like a just a banger idea.
Well, they did that with Black Mirror, I know. But yeah, I remember like I they did the same thing in the 80s too. They were doing this your exact same idea. Like I remember watching Wishbone when I was a kid and they had you know, it's like the little dog that goes around into like the storybooks and stuff like that and they're like, "Oh, yeah, he's doing storybooks or whatever. He's a dog." The guy, what is it? So they're doing like the princess and the pauper,
Yeah.
and they had like a black knight and an Asian knight and a white knight like shooting an arrow, and I'm like, me as a 6-year-old, I was like, how the fuck does that work? Weren't they like slaves back then or something? They weren't getting along like that.
It's very socially conscious of you at that age
Oh man,
to try to look for those inaccuracies.
my mother was like the third wave of feminism before the third wave of feminism even existed. Like
Uh-huh.
for when I was 6 years old, right? I had to be 5 at this time. I was 6, first grade, right? We're doing our report on the Native Americans and the Pilgrims,
Yeah.
and they wanted us to write a paragraph about Thanksgiving, about what happened on Thanksgiving. And my mom has me write a paragraph about how they poisoned the blankets of the native people and they all died and then they took their land. And my teacher at the time was like, what the fuck? Why'd you have him write this? And she said, I ain't telling him the lie. I ain't telling him the fucking lie.
Pretty fucking based. And personally, I think it's way less grim to like address what happened than the corny ass shit we've done in the past like 200 years where we're just like cheekily smiling over it like, "Ah, yeah, we got along. We had Thanksgiving together," you know?
Right.
Really sick shit when you look back at the history books too. Some of the shit that they said. I mean, you get that all the time with racists or whatever, but like sometimes you can read these like journals from like, you know, colonists or whatever, where they're like, "Hey, we just had like a sick interaction with the Native Americans. They were like super cool and they taught us something, and they also like told us about this river over there. So anyway, the plans to light their village on fire in the middle of the night are going through next evening." You know?
Right.
Yeah, it's like fuck. Jesus Christ! Like there's just the casual sociopathy sometimes is so disarming. Like
They,
like
they
in a
have no
freakish.
chill, man. They
Yeah.
had no chill. No chill back then.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's insane. Boston was actually a pretty racist city as well, because people like to talk a lot about Irish slaves, right? You've probably heard of that, like talking point from white supremacists.
Yeah, I've heard the
You know,
I've heard the rumors.
you know what the Irish slaves were? Was actually they would pay they would basically have Irish people work as like headhunters for Native Americans and indigenous people, and that's what they were doing. And it's like Boston had like literally you can see documents in the state house. Well, they were in the state house. I don't know where they are now, but they were talking about going and headhunting people, and people will look at it and think it's like some liberal city and like we've never had those problems here, but it's like that there's a huge history of indigenous people here who are like completely just pushed out of their land and like massacred and stuff like that. I don't think a lot of people really think of when they think of a big city, you know?
Yeah, it's well, I mean, we've kind of like painted over that, even though it's like so in the recent past, you know? Like
Right.
people right now, for example, when talking about Russia's invasion of Ukraine, people are talking about like how, you know, back in like 1914, like before the Soviet Union or whatever, like history of Ukraine going back at least 100 years, you know? If you go back 100 years in America, like the process of bulldozing over native land in order to construct cities, like armed conflicts, like that was still going on, and it's still going on today, albeit mostly in a legal form, you know. But people will cite like the Ukrainian Empire or whatever, you know. Friend, go back just a little bit on the West Coast. I went to university in Humboldt, and I am ashamed to say I don't remember the name of the tribe, but the tribe whose land we stole to do
Honestly,
all that stuff.
with all the weed in Humboldt, I don't blame you for not remembering anything.
Yeah, it was a foggy time of my life. Thank you for being forgiving. You know, it's tough to keep it together.
Don't they call like the Humboldt State University like the slugs, the banana slugs is like their mascot?
I don't know if it's the mascot, but there are banana slugs all over the place up there. There's a hiking trail that runs through the campus, and there are slugs that can get as wide as the palm of your hand that are just chilling.
Oh, wow.
They're like bright yellow.
Yeah, I'm from, my family's from, I have some family from Hawaii. I got like a Japanese grandma, and like they got some big bugs over there, like mosquitoes that are like a foot long. You know what I mean?
Okay, well, I hate that. The slugs are cute. I hate what you just said. I'm not a fan of what you just said.
Yeah, no, it's insane. Yeah, we got like That's that's an interesting place away. My grandma was like a freaking. She worked on like a plantation for most of her life, like a sugar plantation, and her mother was like a slave. You know what I mean? So it's weird when people, like
Yeah,
you were
I'd
saying,
I'd say so.
this stuff ain't new. You know?
Yeah, well, these problems are kind of recursive, and they go on today, right? You know, it's
Uh,
we still talk about. It's just funny how selective we are about like which histories we care about. People like will
right.
still dork out over like Greek or Egyptian or Norse history, even though like ancient Egyptian history, that's thousands of years ago. Ancient Greek, thousands of years ago. Norse, about 1,000, you know. And then it's like,
Right.
oh, like 150 years ago, like, you know, slaughter happened here. We built the land, like, blah, blah, blah. You know, it's like, whatever, you know. I don't know. It's pretty strange, I think.
Well, I just thought of a spicy opinion. What's your thoughts on religion?
Not a big fan. I understand this
Yeah.
is kind of like a broad, like, tent left advocacy thing, but as a logic lord debate bro type, I am, very much against, like, any kind of divine command theory. And I don't like
Right.
superstition because it makes it really
Right.
tough to figure out a person's moral principles.
Now, you know what I think from a scientific perspective, and this always trips people out when I say it. I think that all human beings are inherently spiritual, and I don't think that it's like because that necessarily means that a god exists. But I think that there's something in our DNA which kind of draws us to believing in a higher power. Because like if you look at it goes back to like ancient history, right? All these societies had like different forms of religion and stuff like that. And I would honestly argue even like some atheists nowadays, it's like they still can have that like sort of god gene within them, whatever you want to call it. It just can manifest in a different way. Because if you look at science, right, as like kind of people say science is like the antithesis of religion. In reality, like the ancient Egyptians, for example, had to understand science extremely well to do their mummification practices and stuff like that. They had to have a grasp on science. And so when I look at like atheism, who I guess someone who believes in science is like their worldviews, it just seems like the religious beliefs that got everything right. It still is explaining stuff that we don't understand, but it just happened to get more of the answers right, you know?
Yeah, I think so there are two elements to this that I think might be kind of essential to different degrees. So obviously for a long time religion was a way of explaining the things that we couldn't understand. I think that humans are biologically unique in the sense that we have a very strong desire to order the world around us. It seems to be our
Right.
species
So
being.
you agree with me on that then? Good. Good.
Well, in that respect, yeah. And, well, the easiest explanation, at least early on, is through God, right? Like, why does the lightning crash? You know, well,
Absolutely.
that's the easy one. And then, obviously, as we come to understand and learn more things, I don't think we've necessarily gotten smarter. The shaman from, like, 20,000 years ago had the same brains that we do. I just think that,
Exactly.
they didn't have the tools to understand these processes the way that we do. So, like we do, we use the info we have to construct an understanding of the world around us. And I think that's a fundamentally human and a fundamentally beneficial thing.
To an extent. To an extent.
To an extent, there are issues with its application in bad situations. But I think as a whole, if we're to take the good and the bad, I would rather, take all of it. And with regards to our desire for religion and spiritualism in a sort of social way, I think Emil Durkheim wrote on this. The idea that religion is not necessarily even a, like, God-oriented thing. It's just about finding a way to use public ritual to distinguish between the sacred and the profane. By that argument, you could say, like, football is a religion, and I genuinely believe that argument. I think that humans are biologically driven to use social processes to reaffirm and to restate
Right.
that distinction between sacred and profane.
I absolutely agree. Sorry, what degree do you have? What degree do you have? You don't mind me asking.
Oh, sociology, with a minor in communications.
That's okay. So that's why you know Emil Durkheim, because yeah, I quote him. I quote his what's it called? Collective consciousness theory quite a bit when I'm talking about this point, because it's like if, for example, right, if you go to the North Sentinel, have you heard of North Sentinel Island?
Yeah, that's where there's like that uncontacted tribe, right?
Yeah, the fucking badasses who like killed the guy who tried to like colonize them.
Held
And
off the entire industrialized world so far. The
right,
main characters of humanity. Yes.
right, and like they you know, it's like there's a picture of them from like the 90s where this anthropologist went over to give them some fruits, and they was smiling in the picture just like you and me. And like, how do people do that? How do they smile without having? Why do they smile the same way without having any contact with like other people? It's because we evolve in ways that like help us do that sort of thing.
Yeah, well, we're
And
all
that
a lot
was
more alike than anyone wants to acknowledge, right? Like, it's the same with people in the past. I think a lot of people want to imagine that, like, we humans are so much more enlightened than we used to be. And the systems
no.
we've built are more complicated, that's for sure. But, like, on a fundamental level, like, the brain in your skull is the same as the brain in the skull of some hunter-gatherer 10,000 years ago. If you pulled them
Right.
into the modern world today and took away all the immunities and gut bacteria differences, because that would get them killed, they would be just like us. They'd go to school, whatever. We're all a lot more alike than anyone wants to acknowledge.
I relate a lot to Takar in Far Cry Primal. I think he kind of he speaks the Wenja speak my language too.
I'm woefully ignorant, I'm afraid. You'll have to fill me in.
Oh, have you been a fan of the Far Cry games?
No, actually. I have. Oh God, it's Ubisoft, right?
Yeah.
I
You
have
hate Ubisoft?
a fanatical hatred of Ubisoft. Yeah, just a deep-seated, just a disgusting hatred. Yeah, for a long time.
Yep. I don't love Ubisoft, but I do like just like open world games that I can get like stuck in and just keep like doing a bunch of menial tasks because my autism brain likes doing that.
Hmm.
But they got one that was it's part of the series they got, and it was set in caveman times, and it's woefully inaccurate on a historical sense, which is great, because they had like Neanderthals and Homo sapiens walking around together, which doesn't make a lick of sense, but it is quite fun. You get to throw spears at like the woolly mammoths and stuff, and like it's a
Yeah, they
good time.
probably weren't prioritizing for the realism there. But
Right.
with regards to that, it did look fun. I know everyone liked Far Cry 3. I know that the series has had some pretty popular hits. Um,
Yeah.
I just never got into it myself much. They
You
should
be
do a
Oh
dinosaur
yeah.
one though, like Far Cry Dinosaurs. As long as we're pushing the historical anachronisms, right? Like they should take it up just that
Right.
much farther.
I want to play as a dinosaur. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't
And
know why
just
more
just
games
have
don't
like
let us do
normal
that.
No, you know what I want is like Far Cry 3, but just make like everyone as big as dinosaurs. And so then you're like you can just like or make just your characters as big as dinosaurs, so you don't even have to like shoot a gun at them. You just like walk and then you step on some guys and you're like, "Oh, like complete the mission. I had no idea."
Ah, yes, the plot to Neon Genesis Evangelion.
Right. Yeah. Right. But with better animation and stuff like that, and he's not jerking off over the lady while she's sleeping. That'd be a good idea.
You're a dinosaur. You can't even. You're denied the ability to do that even.
Right.
So that no one even
I,
gets any ideas.
Right. I can understand the Ubisoft hate, man, because I don't know if you've seen what they've been putting out recently, but for their Watch Dogs games, they literally used the Elie Wiesel quote of first they came for the Christians, but I wasn't a Christian, so I didn't do anything to advertise Watch Dogs 3.
Oh, I fucking saw that. Oh my god. When we're dealing with like alt-right rallies and shit, they're like it wasn't what was it? Was first they came for the gamers or some shit? I don't even remember
Yeah, first thing. I don't even remember.
some shit like that. Yeah, that was incredibly funny. I live for tone-deaf corporations.
And then they go and say that the game's not political afterwards.
Yeah, it was
They say the
something.
game's not political.
They just
You know?
they just do like the factory line video game production shit that I don't like. It's not all the games. I know there are good people who work there. I'm not hating on them or anything. It's just the corporate policy seems to be one towards like just mass producing like serialized game titles. It's up there with like EA, right? Like but EA
Right.
yeah, I don't know. It's just not my shit.
It's so sad to me, man, because I feel like it's just the arts industry in general, man. Like so much of it recently we really are in the late stages of capitalism. Like look at most of the music that gets popular now. it gets popular because these like 4-second TikTok trends where people will listen to like 4 seconds of the song, and then it becomes like a hit because of that. And it's like we don't have it like it used to be where people would really like do this stuff for fulfillment or anything else like that. It's all just like every piece of music is made to like make money nowadays. That's scary to think about, because I don't want my kids growing up in that kind of world where it's like they don't feel like they can be creative if it's not productive.
Yeah, I don't know. It sucks because it's one of those like parallel issues where in a way like content creation is like this escapist fantasy for a lot of people because hey, speaking as me, if you make it, all of a sudden you get a crazy wild life and a ton of money and you get to do whatever you want. You can wake up whenever you want and hot bitches and yada yada yada. But
Right.
so like everyone fantasizes. Obviously that's like a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a percent for which that actually becomes the case, but everyone wants clout either way, even if they don't think they're going to make it as some like multi-million-dollar YouTube ninja star or whatever. Like everyone wants the big account, and it does seem like yeah, I don't know. Like what do we even do this for? It seems like when we're trying to demonstrate our social value in interpersonal relationships in real life, we're okay with quirks, eccentricities, having fewer friends if we care about them more. We're less envious. But everything is monetized and everything is numericized in online formats, which means that there's no there's no qualitative data, right? There's only quantitative data. You can't have a Twitter account with 18 followers, but they're your closest friends. It's just the number 18, So
Right.
Yeah, so
I've seen some like concern and stuff because people talk a lot about like Paris. I've gotten in trouble online for kind of talking about this because it's there's I feel like stan culture is like really dangerous for a lot of these like young people when they're like standing these celebrities. Because if you look at it, like look at all these like male YouTubers and TikTokers that end up getting deplatformed because they like do something horrible to women,
Yeah.
And it's like this is a product of like we idolize these people a little too much. You know what I mean? We just kind of idolize them. We put them on a pedestal and then wonder why there's like so many TikTokers that end up like talking to underage girls, and it's like it's because you gave these guys a platform and thought that they could do no wrong, and you didn't hold them accountable.
Yeah, and I think it's also kind of one of the reasons you see this problem so much with the Smash Bros community, I think, is because you heard about all that, right? Like all the grooming and shit with the Smash. Yeah. I think so. Obviously, one of the issues there was that the Smash community is like very like age diverse. There are like 10-year-olds that play that shit, and there were 40-year-olds who play that shit, and so that's going to be one of the points. But I think another one is that, like, for a lot of the people who make it big, like, imagine you're a professional Smash player. You have to play the game a lot to get that good. You probably spent a lot of time playing in high school. I'm just guessing, but you probably didn't have that many friends, just working off stereotypes of people who play a fuck ton of video games at a very high level. Like, you probably aren't exactly, like, living it up socially. And then you make it big. And all of a sudden, you have a fucking army of 14 to 16-year-olds who are following you on social media, calling you the GOAT. They all think you're so funny and so cool. Your skill is very impressive to them. And it's like, holy shit, this is a social grooming factory. We are like maximizing grooming outcomes. We're streamlining all of like society, building a fortress of grooming for this. Jesus Christ.
And it don't excuse their behavior. I'm going to say that just so they don't take it out of context again. But I agree with you. Yeah, and it's like that's like an issue, especially with like you see the differences in age in like the entertainment industry, for example. It's like we value like younger women in the entertainment industry. Like we'd rather have like some younger female stars and actresses and stuff. And then like with the I mean, look at like the what was it, the Hype House? That was like the one with Tony Lopez. You got like these like 16 and 19-year-old girls in there with guys who are like 21 to 24. You know what I mean?
No, yeah, 100%. These
healthy.
And they like meet at these tourneys, and Nintendo made this worse for the Smash community because they never held any official events, which meant that the fan-made events had no like oversight or regulations or any of the stuff that that usually like prevents stuff like this from happening. I think yeah, I don't know. It's so fucked. I've often said this, and I feel like this is a problem that nobody wants to like tackle at its root, so to speak. But we have to just stop liking youth in chicks so much. Like full stop across the board, like everywhere, you know, because people gang on the easy shit, like, oh, this person's a pedo groomer, whatever, like, but it's like a ton of the people who will go after pedos are looking at like barely legal 18 porn or whatever, and it's like, all right, you're just limited by the fucking law, like you're only like chastising them because they're above or below the line, but like fundamentally these are the same issues here. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with finding, like, some 19-year-old actress attractive, but we, like, fetishize the fuck out of it, and it leads to a bunch of problems, you know?
It absolutely is fetishization, and it's like, that... It comes down to the beauty standard in general, I think. I as a disabled person, right, I actually kind of hate the current body positivity movement, because I don't think it's actually interested in abolishing beauty standards or anything like that. It's just kind of interested in changing up to whatever it feels like for the day. So, like, take a look at, like, whenever you see, like, somebody who's, you know, like like so many of the comments I see directed at, like, women specifically, when they don't like what they're saying, is, like, always based on, like, appearance and stuff like that. Like, she's fucking old, she's fat, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, this right here is the reason why we're not, like, going to, get rid of, like, you know, beauty standards and stuff like that in a way that they're harmful, is because we still view beauty and our and especially our perception of beauty, which is, like you said, like, we really do kind of fetishize, like, younger women. We still view beauty as, like, something that's, like, valuable. You know what I mean? That has value when it really has no value.
With women,
be told,
right? Like, you can be a
women,
grungy fucking not. Look, I like it when people are hot. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm pan, you know. Like, go for it, everyone. But yeah, it's definitely like a very, very secondary social value, and especially with like I mean, it should be like in terms of like how we should treat it, like it definitely holds too much power in people's minds. For guys, like taller guys tend to be like more respected and shit. It's like so stupid and arbitrary, just monkey brain shit, right?
And man, tell you the truth, as a tall guy, I never really I'm like 6 foot something, and I never really viewed height as like an issue, and I feel sorry for the guys that do, you know. It's like what's the big deal, you know?
Yeah, I maybe they get like bullied for it or something, and
Yeah.
I wouldn't know. I'm 6'2". Like, for me, it's never been an issue, but like I don't fucking know. I just think that like, it is difficult to tackle this stuff because these values are so deeply ingrained. You're right about the body positivity movement, because the overwhelming majority of the body positivity movement is literally just like, hey, women, it's okay to look like this too. And then they'll show someone who still looks like an unrealistically hot model, like with perfect skin and a perfect smile and like perfect body proportions, but she's like plump to fat. And they never have a fat face either. Whenever it's a fat model, their face looks like it could go on a skinny person. Their fat distribution never gives them a fat neck or anything. They look airbrushed. It's just like their body is fat. And it's like, fuck, like, come on. Well, this isn't like body positivity. It's just like, well, now if you're a model, you get to gain a few pounds. Fuck you. Like, Jesus.
And it's like, they don't even say that it's like, it's okay to look like this. They say, like, you can be beautiful looking like this. And here's the problem, right? Is like, I'm missing a right eye. So if I pull out my right eye, I got like a little like white iris. You know what I mean? That's not like beautiful. It looks fucking weird. I look like a zombie. I think it looks cool. I like the way I look. Don't get me wrong. I think it sounds cool. Yeah, I used to pull it off, and let me send you. Can I send you like a picture of it? I'm gonna take a picture right
absolutely.
Now. I'm gonna take a picture right now with the eye out.
Yeah, absolutely. Just tell me when it sends. I'm fucking hyped up now.
Yeah, if you wanna show the people. What is it? Hold on. How do I send this? Oh, there we go. You press the attachment. Nice.
It's happening.
Okay. It just got sent.
All right, hold on. Don't want to fucking die to this guy. Okay, there we go. Sheesh. Yeah, hold on. Hell yeah, brother. Hold on.
Right.
There we go. Wait, there we
But
go.
see, like,
The people
right,
know.
but see, why does that have to be beautiful? You know what I mean? Why can't I just be ugly? Why can't I just be like, I'm ugly, I'm still a good person. I got
I
a weird looking eye.
Oh,
That's
I think it
okay.
looks
You
sick
know?
personally. That's like my opening adjective for
Right.
that, you know?
It looks sick. Why does the focus always have to why does the body have to be beautiful? You know what I mean? Like that's how we get rid of the beauty standard, man, is stop like I don't want to look beautiful. I want to have like a freaking like I don't know, like a spike coming out of my head or something.
You
That'd
want to
be
look
badass.
like a god, but like a Greek god, you know, like Hephaestus or something. Like
Yeah.
you're just like this giant fucking brick of a guy, like just hideous to look at, and you're just the best guy at making swords. Absolutely.
Why don't we make that the new beauty standard? Look like exactly like the most like my Bloodborne character where he just looks like the most like grisly fucking like unapproachable person ever. That's gonna be the new beauty standard from now on.
Yeah, that's the dream. It's a lot more like realistic, I think too, because it
Right.
is way easier to be grisly looking than to be just flawlessly symmetrical and beautiful.
Right. Just go out in the sun for a bit. Go out in the sun for a bit and then just like mess up your skin and stuff like that, you know?
Yeah, you know, just grind your
I like
face into the pavement
get
a
yeah,
couple of
get
times.
some get like mesothelioma, so you gotta get part of your skin removed. That'll work. And then you got the look.
That takes a
Let's start,
long time though. That's a
yeah, that's true.
long investment
That's
for
true.
that payoff.
But hey, if we start the body negativity movement, you know what I mean? Like I bet you like that would be on the forefront of everybody's minds. Is like, how can I look like that quicker?
Yeah,
You know?
it's like a body nihilism thing. You know what I mean? Like the political statement to show how much you don't care. The problem is that invariably all the hip youth, you know, are going to be like jokerifying their face with scar like burn tissue, and then the new beauty
Yeah.
standard is going to be like how symmetrical your burns are or some shit.
Oh God.
It's gonna turn back around. You know,
I am.
people with like banana shaped burns are going to be looking at people with apple shaped burns and thinking, "Damn, why didn't I hold that oven flame? You know, like why didn't I hold my face over it a little more steady?"
Or somebody's gonna have the burn that has like the freaking lightning bolt symbol, and they're gonna be like, "Why did I get this? Makes me look like a Nazi," you know?
Oh god,
You,
they
you
slam
remember
their
that tattoo? It was the Harry Potter tattoo. It was the Gen Z tattoo someone got, and it was the freaking lightning bolts.
Jesus Christ! You slam your face into like the fucking grills of a burner or something, and it comes back out, and it's the first paragraph of Mein Kampf.
Yeah, right.
It's just like, well, fuck.
Oh man,
That's the statement.
the young people scare me, man, because they, you know what I've gotten in so much trouble for talking about like mental illness, from perspective of like actually like understanding a little bit of psychology, and it's like they really have some like misconceptions about what mental illness actually looks like for a lot of people, you know? Especially with and I hate to say the whole there's people out there who think that it's like totally normal that people go like completely undiagnosed with their mental illness and don't seek treatment, and the way they act is like we got to kind of coddle like really unhealthy behaviors in our current society, and it's like, no, what we should be normalizing is, you know, getting people into affordable treatment and stuff like that. You know, that's what we should be normalizing, not like just completely neglecting your mental health because like, woo, capitalism, baby, you know?
Yeah, I think. I think we walk a really dangerous line right now, where people need more mental health than ever, because we're so disconnected from the elements of our character and of our social lives that are meant to make ourselves feel fulfilled, like having friends or being in relationships or whatever. Like all of that feels like it's falling apart a little bit. So people need this help more than ever. But at the same time, I'm really worried about people going too far with normalizing and being accepting of mental illnesses and turning it
Right.
into like full-blown defending them, which seems to me like just as bad, but from the reverse perspective. Because I know there's discourse about this where it's like, you know, like you've schizoaffective disorders or like depression or anxiety or whatever, but it's like an aesthetic. It's like cute or
Yeah.
cool. And listen, if you want it to be cool, live your life. If your depression is cool, then fucking be cool with it, whatever. But one thing that it shouldn't be to anyone is an enviable state of affairs. It's always something that should be worked on. Like, make the most of it, but don't keep it around unnecessarily. Don't fetishize it, you know?
Right. And I mean, like, I see so many people, like, it gets dangerous when you get into this is what happened with eating disorders, you know what I mean? Is like eating disorders are inherently very competitive. And because of like Pro Anna Tumblr, it's like you have like it's so easy to get a fucking eating disorder if you're like 13 in this country. You know what I mean? Because of like how much we just kind of coddle the behavior. I mean, have you seen like people saying that we should add like a trigger warning for food? And don't get me wrong, I have PTSD myself. You know, I've been like assaulted before, but like a trigger warning for food, that's not healthy. That's not healthy. You shouldn't be triggered by food.
Yeah, it's not a sustainable venture. I feel for a lot of, because I know a lot of girls, especially like growing up, like I personally know like a few people, like their moms, like anytime they would gain 1/4 of 1 ounce, it would be like, I see, so you're an obese fat fuck now. I see how it is, you know.
Right.
So they get eating disorders, you know, maybe whatever. They get older, and like I understand that's difficult, but like, man, that is very much I don't know how to put it, not like a you problem, but like it is a problem, and past a point, accommodation starts being enabling, and that's not. Yeah.
I mean, when people talk about harm reduction with like addiction, I'm like, I agree with harm reduction. Don't get me wrong, but there is a certain point where it's like you gotta not like enable your junkie friends, and they gotta go and get help. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, for
like,
sure.
I would have taken like every single freaking handout that would have made it easier for me to be an addict. But it's like if we're not like prioritizing like getting better, and we're just prioritizing like building our society around just kind of like accepting these problems, you know, then it's like you're just gonna see people who don't get the help they need, you know, because why should you if you can just kind of like live a really easy life as like an addict or whatever, you know? And it's like it's good that this mostly stays online because like in the real world, it's like you can't like you'll lose a job if you like, you know, are like showing up drunk on the job. You know what I mean? But there's people who just seem to think that like this kind of stuff is like things that we should pity, and it's like of course it's like nobody can really control getting mental illness, but it's like you have to have a certain level of responsibility.
Well, it's that the language of accommodation and the language of enabling overlap in a bunch of ways.
Absolutely.
And I do think, because obviously the life of an addict or whatever isn't easy, but I think that when you see the paths laid out before you, that seems like the easiest way forward for a lot of people. Like being a heroin addict is not easy at all. But if you're a heroin addict, you have very limited life options in most cases, and I think for a lot of them, continuing down that road is easier than the seemingly Herculean task of pulling yourself out of it, which is why I support the Biden admin providing clean needles or whatever else, because the moment you see a pathway, even if it's, you know, tenuous and narrow and treacherous to a better life, people tend to work for that on their own, and that's where the personal responsibility comes in, you know, because at the end of the day, nobody can pull you into a better life. You always have to do it yourself. You always have to take responsibility for that. It's just, you know, whether or not that's something a person feels is even worth their time.
Right, exactly. And I mean, you said you're autistic as well. Yeah, I've gotten into some trouble talking about autism and stuff because I feel like a lot of what I'll see from like disabled creators on the internet is they come from this place of having like extreme privilege, right? And so they'll talk about how like you don't need to mask your autism at all. You know, this is like something that society's telling you to do. You don't need to do that. Except like some people do, man, because some people can't like live with their parents for the rest of their life. Some people got to go out and get a job, and I can't be like full blown autismo.
This is why I don't talk about it. You're totally right, because like I'm fairly functioning, you know, So
Yeah.
if I'm like, hey, being autistic didn't hurt me, it helped me get my expensive YouTube job. Like, well, fuck you, right? Like, yeah. It is, especially, and the effort necessary to like keep shit together. For me, it's like, I think it's like an introvert thing. It's like at parties, right? Like being at a party is like existential anxiety for me. Like being around all those people, you know? So I know to an extent
Right.
this is like an introvert thing, like broadly. But like when I'm just sitting at home talking to people like on stream, fine, you know, autism's great, let's go. But when I'm there, holy shit, I hate that. So in those
Right.
situations, like I'm thinking like, God damn, okay, well, now I understand. Like, well, there are people for whom every social interaction entails this level of, you know, seemingly insurmountable difficulty. Yeah.
Right. And it gets on my nerves, right? Because it might be a personal thing, right? But it's like when I was 19, I was like, I was homeless, and then I was like working a job, and I worked a ton of different jobs. I do the social media thing too now, so it's a little different, and I can just kind of be myself. But like back then, it was like I had to really like learn how to understand like social cues and stuff like that, and I had to kind of like put up with like I mean I worked in freaking sewage, so I couldn't really have an issue with sensory issues, man, because that's you're gonna get wet, you're gonna get covered in dookie, and it's like, and then these people act like you like autistic people shouldn't have to do that, and it's like, well, I agree, like some of us have to, and you can't just talk about disabilities as if like there's nobody in the as if like every person with a disability has it easy enough to where they can like have their disability accommodated, because that just ain't the case. I mean, I got a growth disorder and worked construction, for Christ's sake. I wasn't supposed to be doing that, but that's not the world we live in.
Not yet, at least.
Right,
Um,
not yet.
I have a problem. To be honest with you, I had no idea that I would enjoy talking with you so much. So I have a debate 2 minutes ago.
Oh, my
Um,
bad. Yeah, I'll
no,
let you
wait.
go.
You know that's not your bad. I would be delighted to have you on again in the future.
Yeah, let me know, man. Let me know.
Seriously though, thank you for coming on. I don't know how much tech you're finagling with over there, but my chat has been consistently delighted by you. So I would be
Oh,
very, very happy to have you on again in the future.
I'll definitely come by. I'll check it out on the replay. Well, you take care. You
Well,
get to your debate. Okay?
they'll check you out. Can you remind them where you are?
Oh yeah, I'm Sticksy617 on TikTok. My Instagram's hacked right now, so don't go there. I stream Bloodborne on YouTube occasionally. Go check it out, people. Have fun.
You have a wonderful night. Or yeah, night. Yeah.
Yeah, you too, man. Have a good night. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, I had no idea we'd get along so well. Sorry, I was totally unprepared for that. Very, very unexpected. But still delightful. What a great convo. Yeah. It was so wholesome. Yeah, I feel like, I don't know. I feel like that guy right there is a testament to how lived experience can do so much to craft the ability for a person to arrive at good positions in like in a consistent and like morally strong way. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. Yeah, it's a really, really cool guy. Not to belabor the point. Everything he said made me more interested in him. Yeah, he had that effect. He kept dropping bombs in us. He's 25 years old. He's like, missing an eye. I fucked out all these women. Stealing copper out of houses. I did construction. It's just like, Jesus. In my mind, I think of like, oh, the year 2019. What video games was I playing? Ah, yes, Hollow Knight. A lot of Hollow Knight. Yeah, it's like, oh, okay. Very, very different lives we live.